guess you'd say, um, studying under, this has been explained at length in other video segments, so I don't need to talk about it so much. It's just to mention that I had a person who influenced me greatly that was the next generation, a little bit older by 15 years or so, and had mastered very interesting lifestyle choices, and was teaching them along with his wife, who was every bit as smarter, and we're a family unit that sort of took me in as a young, idealistic human being, and showed me the absolute ecstasy of living on the planet and looking at the planet's biology and its microbiology and its botany and its and its cultural diversity. Essentially, I was taught to be both a botanist and an anthropologist, and knowing about the cultural predilections of the civilization, the culture I was born into, and how it devastated the Indian cultures that came before it, and being personally introduced to the remnants of those cultures who are now wearing caterpillar hats and looking a lot like the working class, rural working class people around them that were white, and having intermarried for several generations. I was introduced to the Indians' remaining ceremonies and ways of looking at the world as a religious object and a object of contemplation, rather than a place to build a factory. And it's really weird because the Indian, I'm speaking especially of the Maidu Indians, they had they had a conflicted view because they were underneath a culture that valued land and territory and land deeds, deeded land. And so the only way to become powerful in the culture that they were adopted was to own pieces of property, and their particular society and organization and the way that their culture looked at land was that land was set aside for the use of them and their tribal group, and there was constant conflict with people over the next ridge for certain things that had to do with getting enough to eat, and so there was warfare between smaller groups, and the same smaller groups that had warfare also had ceremonies in which they put down their arms and gambled and played power games. I mean, tried to show a superiority in spirit and become acquainted with one another. And So, and